Hello everyone, my name is Henry. This is my 2008 Ford Crown Victoria. As you can probably tell from the video title, I'm going to be doing a header panel swap from the newer 1998 and above style to the earlier 1997 and below style. First, before I get started, I want to give a shout out to Mr. Squirrel on YouTube. He inspired me to start making videos like this, so you can go ahead and check out his channel. I'll put it in the video description. He's rebuilding an old motorcycle in Australia, so that is very cool. Very in-depth videos. If that interests you at all, go give him a subscription. We are going to jump right into it. First thing I'm going to have to do is remove this push bumper. We've got a couple bolts on the side and the bottom. We've also got to remove these floodlights. So I'll be right back when I complete that. Alright, so I've managed to take off the push bar. Was not too difficult. A little bit hard to get the ratchet in between this bent bracket and the bumper, but no big deal, nothing was seized up too bad. Of course, we have the impact just in case. But yeah, on to taking off the bumper and header panel. So next step is going to be taking off the bumper. It's secured with 3 on each side of these plastic, not reusable one-way clips. You just have to pry those out. And then it's got a couple of 8mm bolts on the bottom, fixing it to these plastic supports. So we've got one bolt there, one further down, and then one right here. So should not be too difficult, but in order to get the header panel off, you have to take off the bumper. And of course I'm swapping both, so we've successfully removed the bumper. One thing I forgot to mention, there's another 8mm up here and a 5.5mm screw right in there. So, other than that, we've got the bumper off. We'll need to take off these push bar mounts later. I'm working on the header panel. These brackets, when I took the header panel off the 95, I took the brackets off with it. I wasn't sure if I'd need them. Looks like you probably won't want to do that because down there's an 8mm. If it'll focus, there's an 8mm right there, and it is basically impossible to remove on this side because the radiator and all this, cooling system is in the way, and you can't pull it out all the way if you have a socket on it. It is possible, but there's a ton of threads on that bolt, and it takes absolutely forever to get out, so I just gave up. I'm just going to try to mount the new header panel straight to this existing bracket. And speaking of the header panel, that's what I'm going to be removing next. I'm going to be undoing these 2 8mm bolts right there. Same for the other side. There is another, I believe this is a 10mm. Not 100% sure. That is about it. There's one right there on either side, 8mm. There are these little pins that do not have heads on them, so you can't unscrew them. You have to either slightly move the fender or cut them off on one side in order to get the header panel off, so I'll be doing one of those two. So I've managed to get the header panel off. What you're going to need to do, you only need to do it on one fender, the other one can stay in place. There are a couple 8mm bolts. There are 2 important ones are down here. There's one here, and then there's one a little bit further back behind that. You'll see if you're doing the job. Then there are 2 up top here, and then one on the front. Those 5 you need to take off. Then you can move the fender a little bit, and you'll be able to pull those pins out that are connecting the header panel. And once you've done that, it should come right off. So I've got the new old header panel attached. It fits in perfectly. However, the only 2 bolts holding it, or only 4 I guess, 2 on each side, holding it in place are right there, connecting to the fender, and right there as well, connecting to the fender. There's nothing actually connecting it to the radiator support. These brackets do not line up, but that is okay. I can go to Home Depot, grab some L-shaped brackets for over here. I can attach stuff. It will not be a big deal at all. I'm just glad that it actually is snug in place. Much better than having gaps down the sides and stuff like that. I test fit the bumper already. Bumper fits beautifully. This bottom part sticks out way more than on the later style Crown Victorias, so I'm probably just going to trim that off, honestly. There's no need for it. There's an air deflector already built in on the police models, so there's no need for that. Those bolt holes, I believe, line up. This bolt hole and the 5.5mm one line up perfectly. It doesn't interfere with the bumper support, so if you're concerned about that, you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, that's about it. I'll check in again when I've got the bumper on. So here's what it looks like. Of course, I think I may have mentioned before, the older style hood is needed to make it look perfect. This does not bother me too much for the moment. The 95 at the junkyard I went to has a white hood. It's in pretty good condition. I just didn't have any way to transport it today. But yeah, that's like probably the easiest part, is the hood latch and the hood. Just unbolt them, stick them in, and go. The bumper mounted up all right. It's missing a couple bolt holes underneath where these brackets are. Those right there. It doesn't have bolt holes there. That's no big deal. It's not sagging too much. It sags a little bit in the middle. I may end up drilling those, but there's not much that would do to stop the sag. So the wheel arch, they have holes. They're in the same place. Ford uses those single-use clips that look kind of like Christmas trees. They do not go back in, so I just use some zip tie. But the holes do line up in case you want to buy more of those clips. Everything else lines up perfectly. It's a really easy swap to do as long as you can find the parts.